Welcome in, 49ers faithful. It is time for 49 Reasons to Listen. 2 reasons right here, Julian Martinez and Jose Corral. And on today's episode, we get to talk about this beatdown of the Los Angeles Rams, currently still ongoing. So I'm going to roll with the final score being 31-10. Garbage time notwithstanding here. Jose, Monday night, they needed it. They needed this game. Must win as much as must win could come. By the way, we'll probably also say that next week is a must win, and the week after that's a must win. But tonight, winning in your home stadium when the lights are the brightest, what did you make of our team tonight?
I think the main thing is that we finally won at home, right? I mean, it's been a brutal stretch of home games for us at Levi Stadium. I think the number is like 393 days without winning there. We finally got that monkey off our back, just like Steve Young said back in 95. There you go. But this one's a little bit of a smaller monkey that we got off our back, but an important one, I think. I think now we could, set that aside, saying that the Niners can't play at home against, one of the top tier teams in the NFC, and if not the NFL. I mean, this Rams team was making a lot of noise with some of the off-field acquisitions that they got. Two key ones that played today: Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr. And, some of the questions in for this Niners team was, how were they going to play against that? Coming off a week where you lost to Colt McCoy, how are you going to be able to beat this Rams team? And we saw it. And this is the recipe for success for this Niners team, is running the football and being physical. If this Niners team could continue to play like this the rest of the way, they could beat anybody in the league. If you put your foot on the ground and say that you're going to run the ball and the other team can't do anything about it, it's hard to beat this Niners team. It really is, because that just opens up everything. That opens up the entire playbook for Kyle Shanahan, and it opens up comfortable passes, comfortable pockets for Jimmy Garoppolo, which we saw today. He started the game on just a tear and was just kind of picking apart in these short to intermediate passes, and he was spectacular today. I thought the defense showed up well. We got some help with the Rams just kind of being out of sync. I think the injury to Robert Woods is bigger than people are trying to make it be. And I think it showed today. I mean, they're going to miss Robert Woods. I don't think you could just insert Odell Beckham Jr. and say you have the same offense that you had the first 8 weeks of the season. I don't think it's going to be that simple for the Rams, but it was still good to see the Niners be super physical, run the football, and on defense only allow 10 points.
Yeah, no, that definitely is a thing to keep in mind, that the Rams might have been a little bit out of sync given the Robert Woods injury kind of came out of nowhere. That Friday when it was announced he had an ACL tear, the Rams apparently didn't even find out about it till after practice. Apparently he finished the practice, went in for a routine MRI just because he didn't feel right. And, I tore my ACL. That's kind of funny how you can just go a whole practice and not realize you had the torn ligament in your ACL. Wild. But as far as what the Niners game strategy was, it was, like you said, run the ball, punch them in the mouth early. You have that big 18-play drive to start things off, instantly control time of possession. That is peak Niners football. That is the play calling that we've been asking for all year from Kyle Shanahan. A little bit of outside pitches, didn't see any reverses in there. A little play action worked in. The run-pass split was about 13-13 at one point, keeping everything pretty even killed. And that's the type of stuff that has our offense at its absolute peak. Whenever things are just kind of balanced and we're just keeping them on their pins and needles throughout the entire game there. Jimmy Garoppolo had a solid day, 15 for 19, had 182 yards, and then, of course, the 2 touchdowns. And then got to give a shout out to Deebo Samuel. I wonder if Aaron Donald's figured out who Deebo Samuel is yet, because he had 97 yards, or as of this recording, 97 yards currently through the air, 36 yards on the ground, ton of scrimmage yards, and then the 2 key touchdowns in there. Deebo's just an absolute workhorse, man. I'll say this right now. No doubt in my mind, if Deebo can stay healthy in his career, he will be an all-time great Niner. I don't know if he'll be an all-timer, but if he stays healthy in a Niners uniform, he's going to be an all-time great 49ers draft pick there. He's just excellent. Everything he does, I just love the way he runs. Just that aggressiveness. Everything looks so fluid. Even when he's in the backfield, he just looks like he's running at a different speed than everyone else. And it's not like he's a fast runner particularly. I think he was clocked in a little below average in terms of his 40 times to other wide receivers. But just the fluidity in which he moves, it's just amazing to watch. Elijah Mitchell's a stud. Love what he's given us out of the backfield too. I will say this. I'll be somewhat of a Debbie Downer here when it comes to the defense. Yes, they held the Rams to 10 points, but I think we got bailed out by the Rams giving us that more than anything, because you look at the interception to Jimmy Ward early on, which was Matthew Stafford just straight up overthrowing everyone, overthrowing Odell on that one. The second interception, tip ball, screen, Jimmy Ward's happy to take advantage. We haven't seen a lot of those tips go our way, so I'm glad it landed in Jimmy Ward's hands. Then you look at just weird things like Tyler Higbee had that drop on third down. Matthew Stafford was just missing people way over their heads. Everything just looked a little off for the Rams tonight. I think that credit to DeMeco Ryans, credit to the Niners for being able to take advantage, because we haven't been able to take advantage of teams when they've had their off moments at all this year. Like you look back at the Seattle game in that first quarter, when Seattle's not doing anything, we weren't able to take advantage of much. But I do think that if it wasn't for the Rams bailing us out on a lot of those opportunities, it could have also been ugly, because we did see them seem to move the ball with ease very early on. Hell, that possession too, where the Rams left points on the board, where they decided to go for the fake field goal with Johnny Hecker, that's a 3 points that could kind of move the needle of the game there. So I'm glad that we got those, and I'm glad we took advantage when we needed them. But, there were still some missed opportunities. I'll still say this. I need Fred Warner to join this turnover party. He did have that interception go through his hands early on. There was Emmanuel Mosley who also let an interception go by. He was just lucky that the very next play was the second Jimmy Ward interception. Just got to hang on to that. Josh Norman, too, also had a couple moments in which he just got dinged or burned, too, over the top of his head. Just had this one embarrassing moment where he jumped too early, but again, was just lucky that Matthew Stafford overthrew his wide receiver in the end zone. So that's the one thing I would say is a negative going into future games. I'm not crazy worried about this next matchup. Obviously, we face the Jaguars, but I mean, the Jaguars have shown up to play the last couple of weeks. So I'm not just going to hit the snooze button and look forward to the Minnesota game with them on the schedule.
No, I'm right there with you. This is obviously a key win, right? We're now at 4-5. We're right in the mix of the playoff berth, just like the rest of the NFC is, except for Detroit. But everybody else is stuck at 3 to 4 wins. There's not really a wild card team that's really separating itself from the pack. New Orleans is kind of in a tricky situation. They dropped another game this week. So, I mean, going forward, the playoffs start this week. I mean, the playoffs started probably about 2 weeks ago, really, for this 49ers team. We've just gotten lucky that the rest of the NFC doesn't want to take advantage of, some of the other losses around the league. And I'm with you where I'm not too worried about the Jacksonville game. I just think the physicality of this Niners team is going to take over at some point, as at least it should. But let's talk a little bit more about what's up with this Rams team against the Niners. What do the Niners do well that the Rams just cannot figure out, and they haven't been able to figure out for the last 5 games? Is it Kyle Shanahan just having Sean McVay's number, or do you think it's just pure the physicality of this Niners team just ends up taking over in these games? What do you think is a major factor as to why the Rams have not been able to beat the Niners in the last 5 games?
I say one of the biggest factors is the Niners seem to always do a great job of eliminating Aaron Donald from the equation. We joke about the Brunskill matchup that Brunskill seems to have his number there. We're speaking of Sean McVay versus Kyle Shanahan, but they do enough to kind of shift the protection towards Aaron Donald's side, which sounds so easy in practice. I'm sure every team in their mind says, okay, we're going to shift the protection towards Aaron Donald's side, but the Niners know how to do it better than most teams, oddly enough. And I think the fact that Kyle knows to work away from him too, in terms of whenever they are setting up the play action, those outside pitches, I think that is where they really succeed in their ability to match up against this Rams team. And I was a little thrown off by the fact that they were able to do so well defensively against this Rams unit, given obviously the change at quarterback. We're not dealing with Jared Goff anymore. We're dealing with Matthew Stafford. So that one, I will say, is still a question mark to me, because obviously I mentioned it earlier. I think the Rams kind of bailed us out on multiple occasions when it came to our defense. But one of the key equations is just taking away their stars. Now, there was some moments that I know Niners Twitter was also having fun at Jimmy's expense too, when they're saying, why are you targeting Jalen Ramsey? I think that's another key in which the Niners typically try and avoid. They try and go away from Jalen Ramsey's side. And And that makes a lot of sense when you're facing the Rams, when you have this stars and scrubs mentality that they have. You want to go away from those two stars, those two future Hall of Famers on defense, and make everyone else beat you. There was some times too when you have George Kittle matched up with an edge rusher, and you just taking advantage of those. I mean, Jimmy was spot on tonight too. Every little throw, it was pretty accurate on the spot. We didn't have too many high overthrows there, which is one of the big things he gets criticized for. So I'll take it when I can. And it just seems like everyone was just in the right mindset to beat them.
All right. So now that we're 4-5 and that we're right in the middle of the playoff hunt, what do you expect for this Niners team moving forward? Do you expect them to kind of elevate themselves, elevate their gameplay after this time of performance? Or do you think there's a potential of a hangover performance after beating a quality of team like the Rams? What do you expect from the Niners going forward?
I expect them to get the win in Jacksonville, which again would put them back up to 5-5. And then they have to get ready for that Minnesota game. Now, the problem is, other teams aren't going to be as forgiving when the Niners are making these mistakes. So it's just going to be up to the guys that we have to get better. They have to slowly start gelling a little bit more. I know this was the first night that we had Ambry Thomas active. I didn't see him involved in too many plays. I don't think he even touched the field, to be honest, as far as I can recollect. You hope that those guys can see more playing time and start to contribute as the season progresses, because obviously when we go against the Vikings in a couple of weeks, they have that unit that includes Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. They have as many offensive weapons as the Rams do. So I'm a little concerned there. You'd face the Cincinnati Bengals in a few weeks. They have a great offense. This Rams team, as much as we joke about owning them, we still have to face them towards the close of the season. And then we have the Seattle matchup, and Seattle always does a number on us. So I would like to think that hopefully they can just improve with the guys they have. The rookies and the younger guys can slowly get better, because the defense is still a problem. It's still something that I'm not just going to give them a pass on because they had one good game against the Rams here. I think that is still something that needs to be ironed out as they go on. And then as far as offensively, I mean, I like that we're seeing Ayuk involved more. I like that we're seeing Kittle involved more. Deebo is just steady Eddie doing everything he needs to do for our team. As long as those guys keep playing well, then I think offensively we shouldn't have anything to really worry about, except that right side of our offensive line, because I did see Jalen Moore got hurt with a knee injury there. So hopefully that doesn't keep him out too long, because I don't trust Todd Compton being on that right side for the rest of the season.
And neither do I, but I'm right there with you. I'm excited to see this type of performance from the Niners. We haven't seen this type of performance all year from the Niners. And, you mentioned some of the injuries, but we're also getting people back at the same time. Today, we finally saw Jeff Wilson Jr. in the field. It was pretty refreshing to see him and not Elijah Mitchell having to carry the entire load for this running game. I mean, shoot, they even had Deebo Samuel rush for over 30 yards today. So that was good to see Jeff Wilson Jr. back. As far as the defense, Dre Greenlaw, he had surgery, but it's not season-ending surgery. We'll see him eventually. We'll see him before the regular season ends. And I think he's going to make a huge difference for this defense. You mentioned this defense. Matthew Stafford just still had way too much time for my liking back there. Every time he would drop back, there was just way too much time. He was basically always looking for Cooper Kupp, and a lot of the times he did find him. And that's just because it's impossible to contain a guy like Cooper Kupp for that long if your pass rush isn't getting there. Right now, we don't really have a pass rush. I know we got a couple of garbage time sacks there at the end, but that's just because it's super predictable. And of course, it's just a lot easier to get sacks whenever the offensive team is going to pass the football. But in some of these other key situations, I know Nick Bosa tries his best, and I know he's an engine when it really comes to getting into that backfield, and he does most times out of none, but he still has to find a way to get to the quarterback. Eric Armstead, we're still waiting for something to say you're worth the money that we're paying you, because right now he's just not doing it. So that's really the only negative that I saw today, was that defensive line is still just being manhandled almost every other play, and we just can't have that. If we want any hopes of having a successful rest of the campaign here, that defensive line has to figure itself out.
Keep hammering this one too. Need more turnovers. The Jimmy Ward turnovers were huge early on, and that tells you how much that could change the course of a game. The fact that we came into the night tied with the Jaguars for least turnovers forced in the league should tell you pretty much everything you need to know. as far as why this defense hasn't performed. Turnovers have a great way of masking defensive deficiencies, and the Niners still have a lot of defensive deficiencies that won't be fixed by anyone coming back. I mean, Dee Ford, maybe he has a back injury that, you hear back injury, it sounds pretty much season ending. Obviously, Javon Kinlaw is not coming back, and DeForest Buckner's not walking through that door, people. So the fact that this is the unit we got, they just need to start getting lucky with some turnovers going their way. I mean, I guess we'll get Tart back, but I mean, Hufanga's been fine back there. Hufanga's not really that much of a make or break the difference between him and Ward. So I don't think that that's going to really be a game changer for our defense as we continue to progress. But anyway, guys, let us know, what was the biggest game changers tonight on the Rams and Niners game? What did you think of this? Is this predictive of the future? Drop that below in the comments. Leave a like on this video. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Again, 49 Reasons to Listen, Juju Talk Sports, Jose Corral. Check this out. Have a great one.